Hi everyone, this is Christian at quarterlightpictures.com for aescripts.com, and welcome to a demo for my new After Effects plugin, QP Grade Assistant. Basically this is a utility plugin to help you with colour grading and colour matching, so it's not designed to be rendered, it's just designed to be used during your work to help you basically colour grade any projects or help to colour match elements like CG or green screen elements into a background plate. It works directly in the AE comp window. It provides some scopes so you can see in more detail your colour correction, and it updates in real time to your CC, your colour correction effect changes. Okay, so let's take a quick look at what it looks like on screen. So this is an example that I've got here showing this sort of nice view of Arizona desert. Forgive me if that's not Arizona. As you can probably tell by my accent, I'm from Britain, so we don't have anything like this over here. Basically the window is split up into two views. This is the preview pane over here, which has got the full RGB view of your colour correction, and then red, green and blue channel views. And on the left here we have a few different scopes. All essentially the same kind of scope, but a different sort of flavour of each one. This is the waveform monitor at the top, showing you luminance values. This is a slice graph showing you, in this case, a horizontal slice through the image along that pixel, that row there. And at the bottom there, RGB parade, which correspond to each of these channel views. So for those of you who don't know how these sort of scopes work, I'll demonstrate using like a simple ramp over here. So this is our ramp, and we've got our grade assistant applied on top. So in all three cases here, they're designed to be their position left to right corresponds to a left to right reading on the image itself. So as you can see on the ramp, on the left it's black, on the right it's white, and these graphs show the increasing level of luminance or the increasing level of red, green and blue as you read from left to right. As another example, some bars. These are HD bars from my other plugin, QP Bars, available at aescripts.com for free. So this shows various different luminance levels across these bars here. So this line running up here is this ramp section there, and then various different levels of luminance as we go along these bars here. You can see those stepping down there. Also, it's quite nice to look at a picture of this koala bear here. We can show you how some of the actual After Effects plugins work, which is quite interesting. It's just a little aside, really. As you can see, this is the waveform monitor for the koala bear here and the slice graph. Basically, quite noisy, really, if you think about it. You know, it's difficult to see that detail, but if you turn on a blur, what a blur actually is just a low pass filter, so you can it filters out all the high frequency noise. So while the shape technically stays the same, you actually smooth itself out, and in the case of the waveform monitor, it's quite pretty, really. And finally, just out of interest, this is a fractal noise pattern. Looking at that as a slice, you can actually see it's relatively simple noise shape. You know, you can look at it in various different ways. The blocks, linear, which is just the actual individual points generated by that fractal noise pattern, with only linear interpolation. Then a sort of semi-linear, smooth interpolation, and a spline interpolation, which gives you that nice sort of very Bezier kind of look. Anyway, on with the demo. Let's go through the controls over here. So to start with, I won't go through them in order. I'll go through them in logical order instead. The scope brightness here, which you can set a desired level of brightness for your scopes on the left. Depends on the image, to be honest with you. If you've got quite a wide range, then sometimes the scope might be a bit spread out, and then you might have to just up that brightness a little bit. The slice position defaults to 50% right in the middle, but you can just take that from 0 at the top all the way down to 100 at the bottom, and you can see the slice graph updating. Preview, the gamma preview here. At the moment in this version there's two presets. Slam up, which is good for checking your blacks and your midtones, so that adds a sort of like slammed up gamma curve, which I'll show you actually on this here. If I go back to the ramp and apply that, so you can see the curve that it applies. Yeah, so it raises the black level and then smooths it out as it gets towards white. So that's good for checking your blacks and mid-tone levels. Mainly really useful for when you're sort of matching colour of an element into a plate, which I'll show you a bit later. And slam down, which is sort of the opposite really, and that's used for checking highlights that are correct. Notice this white box that appears around the preview here. Well, that tells you that you've got a gamma mode on. Just to remind you really to switch it off before you continue. This here is apply gamma preview pre or post scopes. So obviously at the moment we can see the gamma change happening in the scopes, but you might want to watch that. You might want to see the actual colour grade that you're doing rather than what's happening during the gamma preview. So you can actually turn that correction to be post scope, so it'll actually do the colour correction in the scopes and then apply the gamma afterwards. Okay, right. Let's turn that off. This input 2 up here is basically there to let you plug in your original layer, your source layer, before you've done any colour correction. And the way that After Effects works, of course, is that it will always work, this kind of thing here, a compound effect will always work pre-effects, which is great for this because it shows you what it looked like before any colour correction was added. And the way we're using Grade Assistant is on adjustment layer, which means it happens post effects. So as we've plugged in our original layer, we can drag this compare with original across, and we can see what the layer looked like before colour correction and after. I'm working on a second version of this at the moment, which will have angle as well. You'll be able to sort of, change the angle of your view. This is compare opacity, which lets you fade in and out, which is a bit like Nuke's viewer mix, when you can sort of plug two different nodes into the viewer. You can slide the thing across, see what it looks like before and after, and you can also mix. Yeah, so if you're doing all your colour correction on an adjustment layer, you could see what this would look like full on the right here, and sort of half on if you wanted to on the left. Image bounds is something that you shouldn't really touch, because that is taking the size of your layer, and it just tells this plugin the bounds of the image to use to calculate all these nice graphs. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick demo now. I'm going to start from scratch, create a new comp. I'm just using a PAL widescreen comp, but this works with I've tested it with comps up to HD. You know, I mean, the larger the comp, the slower it will run, of course, because it's got to require a lot of processing to get this these graphs to work. So I'll just call this grade demo 2, and I'll drag my desert in. So here's our desert. So rulers, and this is the image that I want to perform some color correction on. So the way that I recommend using QP Grade Assistant is with on an adjustment layer. That is a guide layer. So what this means is it won't render, but you can work away, and there's a number of reasons why I'd suggest using an adjustment layer. The main one is, of course, that you can make it a guide layer and it won't render, but the other one is, of course, you can stack effects up on solids, for example a vignette or a gradient overlay, and anything that is beneath this adjustment layer will show up in the Grade Assistant. Okay, so let's add QP Grade Assist to this, and here we have our view that you've seen already. So I'm going to start by just adding some curves. Let's just reduce this down a bit, try and make it a bit dusky. Just put original in. Okay, and let's just drop a bit of a hue and saturation, lower the saturation a little bit, and maybe just increase the blues. Okay, so as I was talking earlier on, I mentioned about you can add a vignette, for example. So if we drag this below, obviously now you cannot see anything, you know, all the graphs are reading at 0 because we've just dropped a black solid underneath. I'll just double click on ellipse, subtract, feather it out to about 250. There we go. So one thing to get used to is, of course, the ellipse is the entire size of your comp, of course, because if we would turn that off, that's what the actual shot looks like. So yeah, I mean, now you can see how these scopes work a bit more. As the vignette darkens these edges, you can see that kind of turning into a bit of a bell shape. And so vignette, and let's also add a gradient overlay and a ramp, which will give it like a nice dark blue colour, and go to mid-grey. Like so, which will overlay on top of our image. So that's just a quick demo really of how you can use this for colour grading. We can just check to see how it looks slammed up and slammed down. As I said, it's probably not as useful in this case. It's more useful to use it in when matching matching a CG element into a plate, which I will show you now. So here is our plane. For those of you who've downloaded my Chroma Subsample plugin, this is the plane that I used to demonstrate that. All I've got here are diffuse layer, spec layer added on top, some reflections screened on top, and then I'm just choking the whole thing in, cutting it out using a stencil. And I've dropped that on top of my my desert. Now, as you can see, it doesn't look that great at the minute. It kind of doesn't look warm enough really to fit in there. And this is where these three RGB channels come in useful. So we can see really how the individual channels fit. So normally you'd be toggling the channels like this, or having to sort of use a 4-view mode and then setting each one up. So that's what this grade assist is useful for. So I've got some preset curves on here. So basically all I did was increase the reds slightly, lower the greens, and lower the blues as well. And you can see how the difference, especially in the green and blue channel, they sort of fit more naturally into these channel views, and it looks a bit better in the overall shot. So if I wanted to render this out now, I can, because this is a guide layer here. It won't render out, so all you'll be left with is your final comp. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this little demo. If you've got any questions, please leave them as a comment on the aescripts page, and I'll try and get back to you. Working on a new version already with some new scopes, hopefully. What I want to do is hear from you, see if you've got anything you'd really want to see in this plugin, and I'll do my best to try and implement it. In the meantime, check out my other plugins, QP bars, which I showed you earlier on, for generating some colour bars, and Chroma Subsample, which makes your CG slightly less than perfect. Designed if you've got like nice, beautiful, perfect CG and you want to put it into like 4:2:2 video. It will actually simulate the video compression that's been applied, and just helps set your CG into the shot a little bit better. Okay, well, thank you very much. I'm Christian Lett, and I shall speak to you next time.